You step outside on a fresh July morning, the air is warm, your flowers are blooming and your lettuce leaves are reaching up with pride. But then you see it, that telltale trail of slime on your patio stones, winding like a guilty confession toward your vegetable patch. You move closer, and your heart sinks. The edges of your leafy greens have been shredded like tissue paper. Soft hosta leaves, once flawless, now look like Swiss cheese. It's slugs. Again. If this scene sounds familiar, you're not alone. Slugs love July. Warm, damp evenings, fresh new growth, and mulch-covered soil create a paradise for them. And while there are plenty of garden store solutions, the truth is, there's one household item sitting in your kitchen right now that can stop them in their tracks, without harming your soil, your pets, or the environment. Before we get into the science, let me know in the comments, what's the worst slug damage you've ever seen in your garden? Because today, I'm going to show you how to fight back effectively using something simple, cheap, and surprisingly effective. Let's be clear, slugs aren't showing up randomly. July offers them everything they need. Nights are warm and often humid. The ground retains moisture from frequent watering or rainfall. Plants are growing rapidly, pushing out soft new leaves that slugs adore. Mulch and ground cover provide shade and hiding spots during the day. It's a buffet with shelter included. These conditions mean that traditional defenses, like picking them off by hand, just can't keep up. And while slug pellets might seem like a fast solution, most of them are toxic to beneficial wildlife, and they can linger in the soil. What you need is something that interrupts their access to your plants but doesn't poison your ecosystem. That's where kitchen salt and used coffee grounds come in, but let's focus today on coffee grounds because they do more than just deter slugs. Coffee grounds are one of the most overlooked pest deterrents in organic gardening. When sprinkled in a thin layer around vulnerable plants like lettuce, cabbage, strawberries, and hostas, they create a dry, gritty barrier that slugs avoid. Their soft, slimy bodies can't tolerate the sharp texture. It's uncomfortable for them to crawl over, and in many cases they simply turn back. But this isn't just folk wisdom, it's actually been tested. Studies have shown that caffeine itself is toxic to slugs and snails when it's in higher concentrations. Now, while used grounds don't have a ton of caffeine left, they still contain enough to, repel those soft-bodied pests, especially if you reapply them regularly. When I started using coffee grounds in my raised beds, the results were honestly dramatic. Slug damage dropped by over 80% in just about 2 weeks. I checked under leaves, around mulch, and even flipped over bricks. There were fewer slugs, fewer eggs, and no new damage. It wasn't just repellent, it was actually game-changing. Using coffee grounds is easy, but there's definitely a right way to do it. After you brew your morning pot, just save the used grounds and let them dry out on a tray or even on some newspaper for a day. Wet grounds can clump together and get moldy, which honestly can cause more harm than good in your soil. Once dry, sprinkle a thin ring of grounds around the base of each vulnerable plant. Don't pile them too thick. This isn't mulch, it's a barrier. If rain is expected, you'll want to reapply the next day. Light applications every few days keep the barrier active without affecting soil pH in a noticeable way. And yes, worms still love them. In fact, used coffee grounds contribute to your compost pile, improve nitrogen content, and attract earthworms once worked into the soil. So even after the slug season is over, those grounds continue to give back. The reason coffee grounds are so effective comes down to texture chemistry and timing. Slugs have delicate undersides and move by gliding over a layer of mucus. Coffee grounds interrupt this process. The roughness dries them out and deters movement, much like diatomaceous earth, but safer. So, caffeine, even in small doses, actually affects their nervous system. It disrupts feeding behavior, slows reproduction, and discourages egg laying. Over time, they'll relocate in search of easier meals. You'll start seeing the results in as little as a week. Leaves stay intact, plant edges stay crisp. The soil looks undisturbed in the early morning, where before you'd have seen trails and bite marks. And, if you pair this method with regular evening watering and occasional mulch disturbance, you'll keep their numbers permanently low. While coffee grounds are your front line, they work best when paired with good garden hygiene. Remove old mulch or leaf litter near susceptible plants. These create slug shelters. Avoid overhead watering at night, which creates damp conditions that slugs love. Water early in the morning so the surface dries by evening. You can also set simple beer traps to draw in and drown slugs or attract predators like frogs and birds by creating water features or keeping bird feeders nearby. But none of those methods are as immediate and accessible as a spoonful of coffee grounds. There's a lot of conflicting advice about coffee grounds online, so let's be clear. Don't use them as bulk mulch. In large amounts, they can compact and form a water-resistant crust. And while coffee is mildly acidic, the pH effect is negligible when applied in small quantities on the surface. Also, avoid mixing them heavily into seed-starting trays. The fine particles can hold too much moisture and honestly, they can hinder root development in young seedlings. So, stick to top dressing or composting unless you've tested how your soil reacts. Slugs are relentless, especially in July, but you don't have to surrender your garden to them. With just a few scoops of used coffee grounds, you can create a powerful, eco-friendly barrier that stops them in their slimy tracks, without harming your soil or polluting your space. It's cheap, it's simple, and yeah, it works. If this guide helped you fight back against slugs, give it a thumbs up and share it with a gardener who's tired of watching their greens get eaten overnight. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more field-tested gardening solutions right here on Hydro Haven. Every week, we share practical advice to keep your garden healthy, vibrant, and pest-free. No chemicals, no gimmicks, just real results. Until next time, keep your soil alive, your coffee grounds ready, and your lettuce safe.